Hello everybody, Alan here with another daily review of my trades. Today's date is Tuesday, November 30th, the last day of November, and I didn't trade so hot today. Up on the screen, I have the NASDAQ QQQ. Bottom is 1 year, 1 day. Top left 15-15, 15 day, 15 minute. And top right is the 5-day, 1 minute. So if I zoom in on the top right, and actually, well, I won't change the format for this, but um, as you could see, we had a pretty significant tank here, or crack, from the 400s down to the 393 area. Um, you know, is this a, almost like a head and shoulders maybe? Only time will tell, so we'll have to see going forward. But looks like, I don't know, I don't want to guess, but this is looking a little toppy. And we have these big red days for sure, so I just like starting it out with the overall market, and we'll get right into my trades for today. So my first trade, whoops, let me, where did this go here? That's going to take too long. Give me 1 second. I saw that I spelled NASDAQ wrong. Let's see, this is yesterday. All right. First trade of the day, ISPC. I bought that right on market open. I changed my format up because the news, I wanted to see more level 2, especially with NASDAQ plays, so I could see where they're stacking, or where there's a lot of size at one particular price. So when I raised that up, it made this window smaller. So I switched my 15-day, 15-minute and put it over here, and put my 1-day, 1 minute over here. It just seems to work a little better, and I could see more of the chart and volume over here. So I'm trying that out now. But I bought this at market open. As you can see from the 15-day, 15-minute, kind of a gradual uptrend. Dip, spike, dipped pre-market yesterday, spiked up in the morning, and post-market didn't do too much. Looked like it was going to fade, and then it was brought up, or came up pre-market today, and held those levels. So my idea was to get in if it can hold this low. So I got in early, and I averaged down a little bit, and small size. Let me go up one more row here. Small size. I just did 3 and 3 shares, so 120, excuse me, $134 total. Um, it spiked up at this resistance level here in the top right. I wanted to see it kind of push a little bit more, but it looked like there just wasn't anything in the tank. So I sold half here, and then I wanted to give the other half a little bit more time because I thought this could really push, and it just didn't. So when it looked like it was going to crack my risk, I just sold it. So small gain on the second sell, decent gain on the first, but yeah, not too bad of a trade. I was pretty proud of this one. Um, sold half, held the rest, and sold it when it didn't look like it could push. So all good there. Next trade, number 2. This is an OTC, AVRN. This one, let's see. I know that Tim Sykes mentioned that he was buying it. I think he bought it in this little dip here in the 3.6s, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but regardless of where he entered, he said that Stocks to Trade had breaking news on this chart. Obviously, I don't have any news in this section, but big spike up, as you can see on the yearly down at the bottom. Major volume, has a history of spiking. Not volume. Volume back here isn't as close, but or isn't near what the volume is today. So I missed that dip. Not that I wanted to chase, but it did look really good. Um, Especially if it broke past this line or this resistance zone, because that seems pretty central throughout the chart. So it pushed it. I thought it was going to continue, but it didn't. And then it dipped and kind of put in this higher low. And what I should have done was saw that it wasn't breaking, and then on this dip here, just sold because it wasn't reaching these former highs. But I kind of got greedy and I said, well, maybe it can continue. But this is how often do you see this thing spike? And if it does, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, yeah, it had a lot of volume, but I should have taken it off in here. I didn't. My risk was VWAP on the initial trade, and it cracked VWAP here. I thought that it might hold, and I just didn't sell again, and I got greedy, and look at that, sold close to the bottom. Big percent loss, so I need to be more careful with that. Just because I have a certain risk, um, doesn't mean that it's right to wait, because the price action can show you differently. So just a lot of things to juggle. I mean, obviously that's trading. You have a bunch of indicators, you have a bunch of different things going on all at the same time, and until you learn to juggle all of it at once, it's going to be kind of tough to make money. But yeah, I took a decent loss on that, but I'm glad that I didn't stay in it or hold in hope, thinking that it could reclaim VWAP, because obviously it just faded. So moderate loss. I don't like the percent, but I'm trying not to get too big into that. Um, if I sold at VWAP, I would have lost like 10 bucks. So, or right around 10 bucks. But since I held and got greedy, I lost more than that. But we'll move on to the third trade, another Nasdaq, CPIX. This one, I did the same thing that I mentioned the other day, where I bought high and sold low. Um, I just have a really hard time. Maybe it's because I'm a newbie, or I'm not really too sure, but I have a hard time seeing the overall picture, and that's something that I'm going to need to work on. And once I go over my trades, I'll explain what I'm probably going to be doing for at least the first week of December, if not longer. But we'll get into that. I bought in here expecting a breakout. You never buy high. You always buy low. So I bought in here. The only thing I did correctly was I added down in here, um, and then I sold it in here. I thought that it was going to crack. I didn't think it had another leg up. But if you look at the overall trend, I mean, it is kind of following the V, or it's holding above VWAP, relatively, and putting in these slightly higher lows. So, if I was just a little bit more patient, maybe a minute or 2 minutes or so, I would have seen that it started to uptrend. So overall, 4% loss, 14 bucks, not great. Um, I'm not happy with my initial and my add in here. I think what I did was I put in a price, and then I put in a lower price, um, and I went to cancel the higher price, and it got filled. So um, it is what it is. I didn't think it was going to dip this hard, but that's why I have to be more patient and just look at what this chart has been doing. I mean, it almost pushed that level, dipped hard, almost pushed that level, dipped even harder to VWAP, and then, so we'll see. Just have to get better overall. And as you can see, I'm trying to get all this on the screen here, and as you can see, today gapped up above all previous resistance, above 4 here, and volume, compared to everything else, just is insane. So I didn't play that one well, but this next trade really kind of irritated me because, let's see here, same ticker, CPIX. I knew that I bought and sold in the wrong area here. As soon as I bought in here and it dipped, I knew that I did it backwards again, and I was kind of beating myself up over it. And then I said, okay, well, I could always just re-enter. And I re-entered here, and then it dipped a little bit, and I said, I think my risk was like 430, because that's where all these wicks were, around 430 or high 420s. Let me see here. Yeah, 430. Um, and I don't know if it was because of my mindset with the last trade and just screwing that up, but it got to like 438, and I just said, you know what, I'm not going to hold for another big loss, if this thing decides to hit VWAP, or to crack and go past VWAP there to the downside. And then that minute, it just never looked back, for the next half an hour. So, I'm not upset about this small loss, but I'm upset that I just can't seem to get these charts right. But I will get them. I will get them over time. So, next, another uh, NASDAQ trade. Whoopsies. Give me 1 second. Another NASDAQ trade, because NASDAQs are pretty hot right now. Uh, this one wasn't too bad. Let's see, IMGN is the ticker. I bought in at 631 here. Wanted to give this one a little bit of time. My risk was the, let's see, risk of 6. So risk was pretty far from where I was buying, but I saw that this, it seemed to double bottom at 6 here, put in a higher low, and then test VWAP. So what I was looking for, at least on this one, I had a good plan and I bought in weakness, so I can't really fault myself for that. The only trades that I was upset about were the second and third, those last two. The first one was decent. This one was decent. Um, and I thought it was putting in a higher low. I thought that, I wanted to see another test of VWAP. And when it just didn't give me anything and looked like it was going to fade, I said, I'm just going to take it off. So I took it off, and I'm trying to figure out, maybe I could have bought into this higher low up in here, but even then, it really didn't even push. So, small loss, that's fine, no big deal. And then IMGN, yeah, I bought it again. I saw that it double topped here. I saw that it was putting in this, it was touching this bottom again, and I decided to play off a risk of 6. And I don't know, looking back at this, it's not the same as if this were to gap up above all previous resistance. I mean, yeah, you do have this great volume here, but um, I have to keep in mind that, you know, probably a majority of these people, anyone over 6 is underwater. So, just something to keep in mind. Volume's not great anywhere else, but, there might still be some bag holders or something. And clearly this seemed to double top over 7 and then just couldn't get past that 650 level here. So I just wanted to see if it could hold and pop, and I don't know, it's just putting in these lower highs. So I just decided to take it off in here. Small trade. I was in it for 5 minutes, so not great, but uh, here are my stats for today. Only 20% win percentage, down 34 bucks, almost 35, and commission on one OTC stock. Uh, oh yeah, that OTC was my worst trade today. I really did not like that. I didn't. I should have just taken it off here, but I got into I got into thinking that, oh well, I don't want to break even. I'd rather be up a little bit, and like in here. So I wanted it to test that, but the stocks just don't care what you want. That's something I'm trying to get into my head. They don't care what you want. They don't care what your plan is. They don't care where you think it's going to go, how you want it to behave. They just do what they want. So stocks rule, price action rules, the chart rules, and your opinions just don't matter. So I should have just taken it off in here, and then I would have just paid commission or something on it. And that would have been pretty good. Probably a small win, but that's okay. So my statistics today aren't great. Um, my highest percent gain was only 3.5%, and then that OTC was a 12% loss, so not too great comparatively. But I decided to, since I was down $32, I believe, yesterday, and now I'm down 35. I have a small account. Yeah, I think it's like 3,400 bucks, right around there. So I can't keep making these mistakes where I lose, 30, 40, 50 bucks a day. That'll just bleed my account dry. So what I'm gonna try and do is, I know Tim Sykes mentions it, um, to where try and go a day or a week without trading, but watching the market action. Um, I don't think I could do that because I'm kind of an addict. I need that adrenaline rush. I'm a junkie for it. So I'm gonna just mentally trade, and I'm going to track it the same way that I track every other trade. I'm gonna, but with this, I'm going to try and make sure that um, I have a plan. The trades that I'm going to execute are good risk reward, and I'm just going to try to make sure that I nail these mental trades. And in that way, if it drops, hey, I didn't lose anything. If it goes up, hey, I gain confidence in my ability to spot um, good technical analysis or good, what's the term I'm looking for? Good indicators in the stock. Because there are definitely a significant number of indicators to look for when even just entering a trade or considering a trade. So I mentally traded today a few times. Um, I wasn't planning on doing any of this today. I was just thinking about it for tomorrow because that's the start of a new month. And I traded MEIP. It's a NASDAQ ticker. The one M is one mental trade. And this one was a small loss. You know, I saw it dipping. Let's see. Let me see if I can get into this here. Um, you know, you have this. This is a trend lately, right? Where you have these stocks that are kind of doing a lot of sideways price action, doing a lot of nothing, no volume, and they're low and then they just spike. So this one didn't. It briefly spiked above, and that was actually after. But you know, so it was topping at this previous resistance level. What I wanted to see was, as you can see up in the top left here, it topped out at that level. I wanted to see if it could push it. You also have it as support way back in here prior to this breakout. So I mean, if it pushed beyond that, there's no telling what it could do in the next couple days if it gains some momentum, especially with this type of volume. I mean, even compared to this, you know. But anyway, here, give me one moment. So I bought on this dip near VWAP, which is also a problem I have of just buying a little too early because I think I'm going to miss the move. But that's something that I think this mental trading will really help with because I'm going to scroll up a bit and I'm going to cut off some of this chart. So if you guys want to see or want to examine this chart a little bit more, just pause the video now because I'm going to scroll up just a hair so we can see my entries and such. Um, let's see here. So I entered at 305. I wanted to kind of see it hold VWAP, but my risk was, let's see, 290. So not bad of a risk down in here because that's where it seemed to have a good resistance level right in here and then a good support prior to this breakout. So 290 was my risk. Um, it dipped under 3, probably around like 295. And what I should have done was been looking for a higher low for ads, you know, but this was my first mental trade, so I wasn't really, you know, going too crazy with it. But uh, it went up, dipped, put in a higher low. That would have been a good opportunity to potentially get in for an ad, and spiked up above VWAP. And then when it cracked, let me see if I can get a little bit closer in here. Yeah, this little candle here, it cracked VWAP again, and I put that I would sell just because, you know, I wanted to see it hold VWAP. What I need to consider are all the variables, like I keep saying, you know, well, okay, it cracked VWAP, but how did it crack VWAP? Where's it bottoming? You know, prior to this dip and little bounce here, or dip and spike, if you want to even call it that, um, you know, the bottom of this consolidation was about 3. And up in here, it touched 3 once, but then it didn't touch it again. So it obviously was putting in slightly higher lows directly under VWAP with the same resistance level. So I mean, that's indicative of a potential breakout, and it's very bullish. So I sold too soon on this, and I think I actually, whoops, what did I do here? Okay, that's not what we want. All right. But let's see. Yeah, I sold here, and I think I put, yeah, prime example of me selling into weakness. I have to change the habit of selling on dips and sell into strength like the next lower high. I also have to keep in mind what the overall trend is and not sell unless that trend is broken. So I acknowledged that prior, and I think that was maybe right in here. I was thinking about that. And then later on, let me fix this here. And then later on, I mean, I saw it continue to spike, and that's why I put this is exactly why you have to mind the overall trend because you know you have a stock that's up, it's got volume, it's in play, it touched the breakout level, dipped, and now you have a potential bottom and higher low in. I mean, this is a case of where you want to be getting in, you know, if it's constantly putting in these higher lows. So Mistake on my part, but that's okay. I cut it for a small loss, and it is what it is. So that was my first mental trade of the day. We'll move on to the second one here. The next one was LGVN. This was on my watch list. I wanted to see, as you can see here, it's up from under 5 and hit 45 a couple days ago. I believe, yeah, on this day here where the green candle didn't touch, I'm not sure if you could see. Good enough. On this candle here, um, it shows that it didn't touch 30, but post market, if you can see, it actually closed right under 30, and then post market it almost hit, or it went right above 45. So this actually um, double topped around 45. So topped at 45, came down to 15, went back up to 45, and now we've seen 3 down days in a row. My idea with this was I'm looking for a bottom. You have your EMA4 here, and sometimes these stocks tend to bounce when they get close to the EMA4 for the first time, or if they're very volatile. So if they're in play, if they've got volume. So I saw that, potentially today, if it uh, potentially today, before this candle came in, we could be seeing a bounce. And obviously, I wouldn't want to buy it at the open or anything like that, but I wanted to give it some time. So I was looking through my watch list, and wouldn't you know it, put in this higher, or this low of day here, spiked up, and gradually declined, but it never hit that low of day again. So, with a risk of low of day, I got in at 21.25, good little entry here, and I wanted to see, how far it could push, if it could push past this double top, or if by the time it got to this point where VWAP was going to be at that point. So my risk was the low of day with an expectation of it pushing um, it pushing this level here, or double topping and just taking profits into that. Real quick before I move on with this, obviously you guys know I mentioned my risk was 290, but my idea with this was to hold it all day because I wanted to see if it was continuing to put in these higher lows. I wanted to see if it could touch this high of day again because of this overall chart. And it worked out fine, so I gained confidence in this play because, even though my entry wasn't great, I could have added into this higher low and maybe into this higher low. But, um, my plan was spot on. So not too bad. At least I had the right, at least I was on the right track here. But now continuing with LGVN, I had my plan. It's in play. The volume's not great today, but we've been seeing these bounces lately, so got in and spiked up to VWAP there, and I just took it off because it was looking kind of toppy. Yeah, you had a quick dip and then rip past VWAP, so it's okay. I don't mind missing a little bit here, but I mean that ended up being over a 9% gain. Again, I'm still mentally trading with such small size. Maybe I'll spice it up next tomorrow or next month and just see with some size, just for fun, uh, what it would be like to trade with size, um, and to kind of get used to it, even though I'm not actually going to be using that dollar amount. But who knows, if a good risk reward trade comes up, maybe. But this I saw as a good risk reward. I'm close to my risk level. It hasn't touched it. It seems to be curling, putting in a lower high, a higher high here, lower high here, and especially in the next couple minutes, I mean, it may have looked like it double topped here, but it did put in a higher low again. So good trade there and good technical analysis on my part. So we'll move on to the next trade. This one, Nasdaq, AERC. And I bunched these together because I just drew them all on the same chart. This one was kind of odd, as you could probably already see. This is it had an IPO, or it had its IPO. I don't know how you would phrase that, but this is an IPO, and I mean, yesterday it went from 80s or so, 70s to 80s to 120, and then post-market, pre-market held up those levels and then kind of dipped, and today did nothing but crack. So this wasn't on my radar at all, but someone mentioned in the chat, and I just look up tickers when people mention them if it's intriguing to me what they say. And I really liked this. I don't have a chart here. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Um, because look at this. How crazy is this? I mean, look at how beautifully that just rounded off. I don't know if I've seen that before, but typically these things crack kind of hard, but this just gradually, I mean, maybe that's NASDAQ versus OTC because I'm more used to the OTC, even though I'm not great with them either. Um, but this gradual downtrend, and I mean, I was just cracking up because I think I started looking at it. Let's see. This is that bottom, obviously, but it's zoomed in, so it's not as clean looking as it zoomed out. But you'll see in here too, the 15-day, 15-minute. But it was clearly putting in, this is a bottom, clearly putting in higher lows and higher highs. So I missed this run up here, and I drew this resistance level because that's where it was dipping, or that's where it was previously, and it cracked, and I said, you know what? Let me take a mental trade on this because who knows where this thing could bounce to. I mean, it's an IPO. It went up to 120 the other day, so hey, try it. Um, and my risk was, let's see, I don't think I put the risk in. My risk was the bottom of this, or basically support in here. So it was probably about 1850. Yeah, 19. Um, so not very close, but again, I was just playing with a small size. So I got in here on this little dip, and I wanted to see it test this, but it didn't reach that. And as soon as it started looking toppy on the third candle where it was topping out, I just sold. Um, so that's fine. I took a small gain in that, and it actually ended up being a good little. Oh, excuse me, that's not the trade. This is the trade. So yeah, I got in at $20.15 and sold at 21.50. So let me keep it scrolled up here. That long-term chart isn't really much to look at anyways because of the IPO. But got in here at $20.15, and my risk was, about 19. So not too bad. And sold when it was looking a little toppy. So it took 6%, almost 7% on that. Nice little gain, good trade, buying into the weakness instead of buying when you think it's going to break out and selling in that area. So good job. But then I said, let me look for higher lows because this thing obviously has been curling up today. So I wasn't going to trade it again, but I saw that it dipped and then immediately recovered. You'll see this long bottom wick just like it did here. So I said, you know what, why not? I'm just mentally trading, so what does it matter? Um, and I bought here at 21.10 and I sold at 21.85, highlight it. So this second set of arrows here, I didn't sell right at the top, but I thought it might be basing here, and I said, let me give it another second just to see if it could push. And in this candle, it just didn't push, so I sold it. And good thing I did because it came down a little bit more. Um, but now, I was getting to the point where I said, well, I don't really want to overtrade. I don't want to overtrade this stock. But again, it's a mental trade. And I said, if it puts in a higher low and it's looking good, who's to say that it can't still break out? Just because you traded it, um, and it didn't break out in your trades, and you trade it 3, 4, 5, 6 times, doesn't mean that it can't break out the seventh time that you don't trade it. So and that's a mistake I make multiple times, not trading something. I trade too early, too early, too early, and then it breaks out and I miss it because I think I'm over trading it and it's just not going to do it. I mean, this is a perfect um, chart, pattern here. Touching resistance, creating a low, buying on the low, selling into the next pop, creating a higher low, buying there, selling into the next pop. Higher low, and now when it bottomed here, I gave it a couple minutes. Um, I bought in at 21.50. I thought it was going to break for sure. I was like, this is so close. It's putting in these higher lows. Um, this probably going to push, and it just didn't. It touched a little bit lower, and then it just looked weak. So it didn't look as strong as the second push or the first push. The second push looked stronger than the first, but this one looked weakest out of all of them. So I took it off for a small gain before it cracked to the downside. 2.3%. Not bad. I'm not going to complain about 2% and 3%. That's all well and good. And what I need to focus on is just taking these small gains because these larger gains will come. But I have to make sure that in the meantime, I'm optimizing my entries and my exits to where I'm not taking, multiple 2 to 5% losses. At least I'm taking gains instead. So good job to me on that. And I may be tooting my own horn here, but hey, even though it's just funny because the instant I take money out of the equation, it seems like I trade these way better. So that's why I had kind of this epiphany, like, okay, well, if money is causing me to have these problems and worry about losing it so much, that is potentially affecting how I'm trading and how I'm looking at the stock. So my thinking going forward is if I can work on just trading, since I'm at home now, if I could work on just trading the chart with no money, then I can gradually introduce money back into it. Once I gain more confidence in plays such as these, I definitely felt confident after these plays. And then, you know, I traded it again because I thought it was going to crack since it didn't break out. I said, oh man, this thing's done. It's just going to end up probably cracking and then, falling down or falling off here. But it put in a higher low again. And I said, there's no way. Uh, you know, but again, there I go saying things that, how do I know there's no way? The inexperienced guy who's made no money, and how do I know? What do I know? You know? So I said, well, okay, it seems to have put in this higher low, but I'm not going to get caught buying into strength here or buying near a top. I want to see a confirmation that this thing's going to push. So it pushed. And I said, okay, well, it pushed this high. Um, I'm going to get in, you know. And I got in at 2240, right below where it broke out, but it did push higher and then crack back below. So that's where I entered, and as you can see, the next couple minutes it cracked below as well. But and then it was off to the races. This was a great percent gain. I took half off because this is a breakout now. Not a breakout, but that's what this has been pushing for one, two, three, four times, and five if you count this. So I thought this could really push. Um, so I sold three of them in here, and then I let the rest ride because it looked a little toppy. I wanted to see if it could maybe base out here and then continue, but it just kept going. I wanted to see if it could touch VWAP also if it continued to spike, and I was planning on selling into that, but it just kept going. So uh, it spiked up even more. We were going into another area of resistance on a previous spike, so I just took it off at 27. So I got out at 24.60 and 27 in from 22. Uh, so not bad, that's it's almost a 10% gain and a 20% gain, averaging to 15. It's just crazy to me how um, I don't know if I would have made the same trades if I had money in them, or if it's just because I know I'm not risking anything, so I'm a little bit more patient with things. But regardless of that, whichever is true, it's clear that I did well on these trades, and tomorrow, I don't have to trade. So tomorrow I'm going to focus on just mentally trading. And until I gain the confidence, until I gain more confidence in my abilities to trade these stocks correctly and adequately, I'm probably not going to risk my money. Um, and especially with how the NASDAQ is behaving, it just gets me more nervous to take gains quickly. And clearly, this 14 to 28. That's 100% bounce basically. That is 100% bounce. So, you know, 3 out of 4 stocks follow the market, but that doesn't mean they have to follow it, or all of them follow it. So these are my statistics on this trade, or on my mental trades today. Six six mental trades, 5 wins, 1 loss with a 500% win rate. Kind of crazy how it went from 20% to 500%. But hey, I'm not going to complain. And I would have made 36 bucks, and I was down 32. So, I would have been up today. It is what it is. My highest percent loss is 1.31%, and my highest percent gain was 15%, because I do the averages. Although maybe I should focus on doing the individual. Interesting. I'll think, food for thought. Um, but these are stats I want to see. I'm fine with taking 2% between 2 and 5, but the fact that I cut that even though I was on the right track, the fact that I cut it for such a small loss, that's, good job, you know. But that's basically it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I mean, tomorrow we'll just see how it goes. It's just, let me think of how to word this. Um, since I have such a small account, I think I get too caught up in losing money. If I'm in a trade and it's going well, oh, I want to take the money because I need to grow my account. If I'm in a trade and it's not doing exactly what I want, oh, maybe I should cut it, even though it's within the realm of my plan still. Uh, so I don't see a downside to trading without money because it'll allow me to gain confidence in with real world experience, as long as I'm not, pardon me, but bullshitting my stats here, my results, because anybody could post a chart and say, yeah, I would have bought down in here on this higher low and sold it up here, but as long as I'm true to myself, I don't care if you guys believe me, but if I'm honest with myself, eventually, you know, I'll gain confidence. I'll see these results. I'll see I'll see that I'm potentially making money doing this. And then, hey, okay, let me start dabbling with small size, you know. So that's all I got for today. Like I said, actually this closes out November. Not a great month for me overall. Let me see. I think I'm down. What's that? 160, 220. Probably about 220. So not great. Uh, but it was my first full month at the house, full-time trading, and yeah, full month at the house, just getting everything figured out, and really trying to make sure that the steps that I'm taking are correct. Um, so I'll be posting uh, a video where I go over the month of November and my highest percent gains and my highest percent losses, um, and just discussing what I'm going to do for December, the next month here, uh, and what I think I can improve on. So that's basically it for today. I hope you guys had a good trading day, or a good day if you're just learning about this stuff. Um, I think that pretty much sums it up. But all right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.